All right, let's jump right into this really cool concept from our source material today called Divine Autopilot. We're going to explore what it actually means to stop trying to force life and instead start flowing with its unseen guidance.
I mean, really think about it. Have you ever had one of those gut feelings, that unexplainable pull to go one way instead of another, or just a sense that the steps you were taking weren't just your own, but that you were plugged into some deeper rhythm? That little voice that just knows? Well, that feeling is exactly what we're breaking down today.
So, let's get right to it. What are we actually talking about here? What is this state of being that our source calls divine autopilot?
I love how this definition frames it. The idea isn't that you're trying to find some new secret path. It's about realizing you're already on it. Your soul knows the way. The real work, the real challenge, is just getting the mind, with its constant need for a map and a 10-point plan, to quiet down and get out of the driver's seat.
And this is so important. This isn't about being passive or just sitting around waiting for life to happen to you. Nope. It's about a totally different kind of action. Think about a surfer riding a huge wave. They're not controlling the ocean, right? Of course not. They're using all their skill to flow with its incredible power. That's divine autopilot. You're engaged, you're active, but you're doing it without all that friction and resistance from overthinking every single move.
To really get a feel for this, it helps to see it side by side with the way most of us are taught to live our lives, with what the source calls manual control.
And here you can see the two operating systems laid out, plain as day. On one side, you've got manual control. This is the ego's playground. It's all about fear, pressure, the need to force things to happen, the whole hustle and grind culture. But on the other side, you have divine autopilot. That's guided by the soul, and it operates on a totally different frequency: silence, intuition, flow, and trust. The goal is no longer about people-pleasing. It's about pure, authentic expression.
This quote right here, it just flips the whole script on modern hustle culture. We're always told that to get ahead, to make progress, you have to sacrifice your peace of mind. But this framework says the exact opposite. That feeling of peace, of joy, of calm, those aren't distractions from the goal. They are the goal. They're your guidance system. If you're feeling frantic and stressed out, you're basically flying the plane blind.
Okay, so if peace is our compass, how do we actually use it? How do we start tuning in and actually listening to this inner guidance system?
Well, the source breaks it down into 3 key signals to look for. First up, listen in silence. You have to actually create the space away from all the noise to hear anything. Second, you've got to follow intuitive nudges, learning to trust those little whispers that don't always make logical sense but just feel right. And third, notice synchronicity. Start paying attention to those meaningful coincidences where life just seems to line up in the most perfect, uncanny ways.
And this is the beautiful outcome when you start tuning in. You stop chasing things down and you start attracting them. It's a huge shift from effort to resonance. When you focus on your own alignment, on just being authentically you, on shining, you naturally draw in the people and the opportunities that are meant for you.
Now, this all sounds pretty amazing, right? But let's be real. The journey isn't always a smooth, straight line. So how do we keep trusting the process when things get a little turbulent?
Yeah, and just acknowledging this is so key. Surrendering to a higher guidance doesn't mean you get a free pass from every difficulty in life. Actually, sometimes the path seems to lead you straight into the storm.
The source identifies these common detours you might experience. You've got storms, which are those periods of intense chaos. Then there are delays, when it feels like everything has just ground to a halt. And deserts, those times when you feel totally lost and alone. But here's the crucial thing. These are not signs that you're off course.
This right here is a total game changer. Instead of seeing a delay as a failure or a storm as some kind of punishment, you start to see them as part of the curriculum. The detour is teaching you something you'll need for the next part of the journey. The pause is giving you time to integrate a lesson. Nothing is wasted. It's all useful.
So what's our job in all this? It's simple, really. It's to let go of the excess baggage. The source calls these things backseat drivers. Old identities you've outgrown, guilt from the past, or ambition that's really just rooted in fear. All that stuff just weighs you down like an anchor and keeps the autopilot from taking you where you're meant to go.
So, after you navigate the detours and let go of the baggage, what does life even look like? What's the destination? What's the payoff?
This is the fundamental upgrade. You shift from this mental state of always trying to figure everything out to a felt sense of just connecting with what feels right, moment to moment. You don't have to push or grind or force anymore. You just have to align.
Just let that sink in for a second. What a profound shift. It means that every single moment, every challenge, every victory, it's all part of a guided journey.
you can finally actually relax because you realize you're not navigating this whole thing alone.
And what's truly incredible is that when you live from this place of trust and alignment, the extraordinary starts to become ordinary. The source suggests that miracles stop being these rare, once-in-a-lifetime events. They become the natural, expected outcome of just being tuned into that divine frequency.
So, we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. In a world that is constantly screaming at you to hustle, to plan, to control everything, what would change for you if you truly believed that your most important job was simply to get quiet and listen?